Bespoken Spirits is a modern spirits company blending technology and tradition to take craft spirits to entirely new heights. Their unique craft maturation process unlocks amazing flavor combinations while reducing the environmental impact of each sip. The process is all natural and uses only the highest quality ingredients carefully sourced from the best mills, coopers, and distilleries. The result is an unparalleled flavor experience and something you can feel good about drinking. But don't take our word for it, try it yourself. Bespoken Spirits award-winning products can be purchased through retailers or online. Learn more at www.bespokenspirits.com. There's a new award-winning 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey that's been taking the market by storm, Penelope Bourbon. Penelope's balanced yet flavorful taste profile comes from a unique blend of 3 bourbon mash bills. Currently available in 3 expressions, 4-grain, barrel strength, and toasted, Penelope is remarkably smooth and flavorful. So whether you're sipping neat or using it in your favorite cocktail, Penelope is perfect for you. Penelope Bourbon is available throughout Kentucky, as well as select markets and online at penelopebourbon.com.
With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Proudly made in the USA and inspired by the American lifestyle, Country Smooth Bourbon was developed by the first female founder and CEO of an American bourbon whiskey company as a refined experience to be savored on its own or enjoyed in cocktails. We are dedicated to celebrating the spirit of America and the crafting of premium bourbon whiskey. To learn more, visit countrysmooth.com, where you can order online or find a retailer near you. Cheers. Country Smooth. Female founded, country grounded.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me tonight, live in the Bourbon Life studios, it's the Bourbon Life crew. I'm excited, man, because we are around the brand new podcasting table. We're sitting here live with new equipment, and everybody's here, well, except for Philip. Philip's calling in tonight. I know, man, he's missing out for sure, but he's going to be drinking with us. But happy to be here, guys. So, Matt, my co-host, how are you doing tonight?
Good, Mark. I was wondering when I was finally going to get
the introduction.
Get the throw over here. Usually,
just so excited.
You are beaming at the gills here to get this going. We've got the new table. We're in the studios. We got the Bourbon Life crew. It's going to be a full, flights around here.
Yeah, that's right, man. We got Chad sitting here live with us.
Mm-hmm.
He just got off of work and drove straight over and joined us, which we appreciate that.
I did.
Yeah, and Chad, if you guys don't know, he's My Daily Bourbon on Instagram. So check him out. And we got Philip calling in. Philip, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Philip is Bourbon Hunting Kentucky or Bourbon Hunting KY on Instagram. So check both of those guys out and give them a follow. They post some great stuff. So, and we're happy you guys are with us tonight, or whenever you're listening, as Matt would say, whenever you're listening.
We're happy to be here tonight. So
I'm super happy.
You're happy to be here, whatever time of day, night,
That's
evening,
right.
morning, whatever season of the year it is.
Yeah. See, Matt, I get thrown off when we're doing this live stuff, man, because it's not the same format. You know, we don't have the guests. We're not on the computers. It's like we are here live talking to each other. And it's like kind of throws me off my game, man. So kind of messed up. Yeah, I know. So
tighten that game. Get that team wrench out. Tighten the game back up.
I know, dude. I know, but I'm excited. You know, we got the new table, and I can't stop talking about my new table, man.
Dude,
so,
it is nice.
Thank you.
It is a nice table.
I appreciate that. You know what? I found this on Facebook Marketplace. I was like, somebody suggested that. And I was like, man, I'm not going to get on Facebook. I just never got on there and looked at stuff. But some guy was selling it for $400, and he sold it to me for $350, and actually drove it down from Georgetown and delivered it. And I gave him a shot of let's see, what did he want? Elmer Chile, was one of his favorites. And then I actually gave him a pour of that George T. Stagg that we're going to drink tonight. So I was like, you know what, man? For 2 shots of bourbon, I got free delivery on our table. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. And I didn't drill any holes in it, Matt. Matt was opposed to me hiding the cords underneath through holes, so I did not do that. Anyway, man, nobody wants to hear that, right? So we should move on with the show, and let's talk about what we're going to drink for the first round.
But thank our sponsors, everybody.
Well, yeah. It is the Bourbon Life Podcast that is presented by Bespoken Spirits.
Yeah.
And then we thank our sponsors, right?
We got to just say it, though.
Yeah, but we appreciate all of our sponsors. Thanks, Matt, for keeping me on deck on that one, man.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to drink the first round. We got poured up here. I'll go ahead and take this one since I'm sitting here. But it's the Wiseman. The Wiseman. This is the new blended bourbon release from Kentucky Owl. So the last release was 2019. It was confiscated, which I did not have. Did you guys?
Yes, I did. I did not purchase a bottle, but I have had it.
You've had it, Matt. Did you ever have it?
I have not. Like Philip, you had it?
No, I haven't had it.
Oh.
You have not. So, all right. So we're only 1 for 4 on the confiscated. So Chad, what'd you think of the confiscated? Just kind of give a baseline in terms of what you thought about that.
The cheapest I seen it was $100 at Costco, and it averages $130, which it still goes for today. I just did not value at that price point because it had no age statements.
Gotcha.
Dixon, I don't know if he wasn't allowed to or what. Gave very little details on the blend. The sample that I had from a friend, I thought was just fine for a $60 bottle.
But not 100 and
not 100 plus.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. So that's kind of been my thing. We'll talk about that a little bit more with Kentucky Owl. The pricing on some of their stuff has just been a little, I guess, prohibitive to me. So anyway, so this is 90.8 proof. So this is a, kind of a standard baseline bourbon. It's not coming in too hot. This was actually, though, it has the first distillate that they had distilled with Bardstown Bourbon. So Bardstown Bourbon Company is doing the distilling for Kentucky Owl, which of course is owned by Stoley, the Stoley Group now. So Bardstown Bourbon did the distilling on this. This is a blend of 3 different bourbons. Actually, I think it's 4. They've got a 4-year-old wheated bourbon and a 4-year-old high rye bourbon, and those were both Kentucky Owl's bourbons from Bardstown. And then they've also got a 5.5 and an 8.5 sourced Kentucky bourbon. It doesn't say where those were sourced from. But this is the first release under their master blender, John Ray. And John, I didn't really know anything about him, but he spent like 40 years with Four Roses.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy dude. Retired in 2016. He's like in the Bourbon Hall of Fame. He was like the chairman of the board of directors for the Kentucky Distilleries Association for I don't know how many years, man. So the guy apparently is just like huge in the industry. So they snatched him up, and now he is their master blender. So this is the first release under him now that Dixon's gone. So guys, what are you picking up? Philip, you got this as well, right? So
yeah.
So,
on the nose, I kind of get a little bit of cherry and apple, and then maybe some slight hints of caramel, and then I get that like a little bit of that ethanol burn. It's not a bad burn. I think it's got a very pleasant nose on it.
Gotcha. Matt, what about you, man? What do you get?
I agree with Philip. I thought my first thoughts were that the nose is quite pleasant.
Yeah.
I picked up some, I don't know if it was cherry, but there's some fruit, very subtle, but I get a lot of, I get like nougat, like think the inside of like a Three Musketeers, like that nougat on the inside. I pick up a lot of that, maybe like a touch of chocolate, but something a little earthy in it as well.
Gotcha. Chad, what about you? What do you get?
I totally got that apple. It was like a baked cinnamon apple. I agree with Matt. I had a little bit of like a cocoa powder, like that baking cocoa powder. You take the lid off that, just kind of like right in your face.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of floral going on with a nice little honey note.
Yeah.
It's not strong, but there's a little bit of like a fresh honey in there.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you guys all went first because I can say cherry. I can say cherry and honey. I am picking out cherry. I agree with you on that, Philip. You and I, man, we got get cherry on everything. I think that's kind of our jam.
One of my go-tos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like cherry. I get cherry, but I do get the sweetness, and it comes across as cherry to me. Post COVID, man, I'm still getting that nose and the palate back, but it is coming back. So I'm picking out more things, which is great. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some things going on with Kentucky Owl. There is some news. They just sent out a press release today, as a matter of fact, that they actually hired David Mandell, who was a co-founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company, and they hired him to be the president of the Kentucky Owl Real Estate, which is going to be developing the new Kentucky Owl Distillery and Park down in Bardstown. It's like 400 acres, and they're developing this huge complex. And I think it's going to be where they got pyramids. I don't know if you guys have seen. Have you guys seen the?
I've not seen any pictures of what's being proposed, but I can only imagine.
The pictures are impressive.
Yeah,
it looks like something you would see in Las Vegas.
I thought it was a joke
in Vegas.
I didn't think that it was anything serious.
No, it's for real, man. So they're moving ahead with this. So kind of interesting to see what they're going to do, because David was with Bardstown Bourbon, and we've had them on the show, Dan and Johnny Whiskey, which was a great show. We had a lot of fun down there. But we talked about the Napification of Bardstown. The making Bardstown more of a destination for people just to come in, not just to tour the distilleries to taste the bourbon, but to have an experience that's going to be food, activities, and bourbon, and just a combination of a lot of different things. So this Kentucky Owl Park and Distillery sounds like it's really going to expand on that quite a bit. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, I'm all for it. Tons of people come in and go to Bardstown, Louisville, Lexington, hit these distilleries, but there's really only Bardstown Bourbon Company, and now you got Heaven Hill. No matter how you feel about Heaven Hill or anything, right. They've opened their new visitor center, which kind of feels like a one and done type deal. I don't know how often you're going to spend like $230 on the same experience, but right. Bardstown Bourbon Company is, as far as anyone goes, to me, they're like the top level. Like, this is the expectation that needs to be met minimally for new brands building something.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. Matt, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think if you want to compete in that market and play that game of like the Bardstopia, you gotta. I think BBC kind of.
Can you trade? You should trademark that, man.
Bard's Atlantis.
That's there you go. Bard's Vegas.
Yeah, I think it's, if you want that experience, that's where the bar's been set, and I think you're right, Chad. I think you got to play to that hand and play to those people, and it sounds like that's what Kentucky Owl is trying to do. So I hope that they can. I hope most of anything, I hope that they can create a brand moving forward and not sort of rely on what they were in the past to drive a lot of this, because it seems like maybe the Kentucky Owl of the past, a lot of those products are long gone. And I don't know what the future holds, but right. For them to kind of rely on that to drive the future, I don't want to say it's misleading, but
I think they've gone it's a total rebrand. There's right. This label. When I seen the label on like Cumming Whiskey's page on Instagram, I'm like, man, there's a lot going on. I do not like this label on the bottle though. It's nice. I like the little. I just lowered my seat. I like the diamond cuts on the bottom of the bottle. It's classy. It looks. Oh, I'm gonna raise my seat back up.
There you go, man. Yeah. Welcome back to the party, Chad.
Yeah.
Damn, have you been drinking at work or what, man?
No, I had a drink upstairs at your house.
I agree, though, man. It's a cool looking bottle. The label's got a lot going on. The back of the label, the back of the bottle. If you look at that label, there's like a whole map and all sorts of stuff on there. So yeah, there is a lot going on with that label. But for me, I will tell you, I do not own a single bottle of Kentucky Owl, and that's not just it's not just because Matt's got two. Do you have some, Chad?
No, I've burned through mine.
But you did.
I have.
You
Yeah,
purchased them.
I've had 4 bottles. I think four or 5.
Philip, what about you, man?
I've never bought a bottle. When I really started getting into expanding my bourbon range, Kentucky Owl that's when Kentucky Owl was hitting the secondary for like $200, $300 a bottle.
Yeah.
And then of course they released, the confiscated and some of the other, I think like 11-year rye, and some of those, like you go into liquor bar and it'd be, $150, $200, and I'm like, I'm not spending that. I don't know.
Yeah.
At that time it was like, that's awfully high for, a bottle of bourbon that I don't really know anything about.
And I agree with that, and that's the thing. It's kind of because Dixon started out with the Carters. Mm-hmm. Doing Kentucky Owl, and then the Carters left and started, Old Carter. And Mark's a great blender. I mean, obviously with his wine, he's been hugely successful with that. And with his bourbons and ryes, they've done well. I do own one bottle of Old Carter, but again, man, just the pricing on it, it's just, I think that bottle I bought back in 2019 I can't remember which batch of rye it is. It was $185 plus tax. So it was $200, man. I'm just like, yeah, I'm an attorney, but man, I'm not going to go around dropping $200 on a bottle of whiskey that's sourced from somebody else.
Yeah.
Even though they do a great blend on it. So that's kind of been my thing with Kentucky Owl as well. And, the cost of it was just prohibitive to me. And I don't know if it's just maybe just a personal stance to say, I'm not going to spend $150, $175 on a bottle.
I mean, I will do that to a degree. I mean, like
on the right bottle.
On the right bottle.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I have, I've owned a couple bottles of Old Carter. The only one I still have left is it's a 12-year-old single barrel. That was a gift to me given by someone else.
That's a nice gift, man.
Her husband won it in a golf tournament, and he doesn't drink, and she didn't drink. So she was like, "You drink, right? You want this?" Hell yeah, I'll take that. Like,
well, let me think about that. Okay, yes.
She's like, "Oh, I heard it goes for $200." I'm like, "Well, let's do it." But yeah, I mean, there's very few bottles I'm going to spend triple digits on. I mean, like once it crosses that path from 2 to 3 digits, I mean, it's there's a lot of expectations it needs to hit to make it worth it.
All right. So what are those bottles? Let's just quick segue.
We're going to segue into that.
I will always pay for Elijah Craig 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I will gladly pay retail for that.
And that's one I don't have a bottle of. And I've heard people say that recently the 18 isn't quite what it used to be, but I don't know because I'd never had the old 18 bottles before everything kind of took off. I have had the 18-year-old and I loved it. I think for me, something that I'll always pay triple digits for without hesitation is the Four Roses limited edition, the barrel strength. I don't care how much it costs. If it's $189, seriously, I'm going to drop the money and buy it because I just think what they're doing with that is phenomenal. So that is one bottle for sure. In BTAC, if I have the opportunity to buy a BTAC.
Pappy's and BTAC go without saying, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think anybody would do it, but I'm not going to spend $400 or $500, $600, $800 on a bottle. That Stagg right there that we're going to drink a little bit later, that was actually purchased for me by a friend up in Michigan, and she got it for $150.
Hell yeah!
So and it's a 2020 release. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that all day long because I mean, people are selling that crazy shit for like $850 or $750 online, on secondary. I'm like, man, just get it and drink it. But yeah, obviously BTAC, like you said, would go without saying. But yeah, that Four Roses limited edition barrel strength for sure. What about you, man? Is there anything, Chad,
as the person who really doesn't buy limited editions, I mean, I would agree Four Roses, LE, good one. The Bardstown Bourbon Company limited editions are always really good. Discoveries, I mean, you're hitting like 110, 120 with those. And then Wild Turkey, LEs, those...
like the Master's Keep.
There you go, Master's Keep. Like,
I got you.
I will pay money for those. I mean, I don't care if it's $200. I'll $250.
Yeah,
those to me are well worth it. I love Wild Turkey juice. I wish Jim Beam would do something like that for America because they do that for overseas markets, but you don't get like.
Okay.
There's no like 20-year-old Beam you're gonna just find in an LE in America.
Yeah.
But I'd love if they did that. Those are my two favorite heritage brands. And then dusty stuff. I will pay $100 for something from the 70s. I'll pay $150 for something from the 80s, whatever.
Yeah. I guess that would probably go without saying. Dusties, Yeah, you're going to be willing to spend a little bit more money on that. What about you, Philip? Anything out there that you would buy?
I would say I have to agree with you, Mark, on like the Four Roses. It has to really, honestly, if it's over $100 when it hits the triple digits, it's got to be a brand that I am confident that it's going to be something good I'm going to be drinking.
Yeah.
Some of these brands. Well, a good example is like Kentucky Owl. I've never bought it because I'm like, I don't know. They've never. This is the Wiseman. It's the first time I've ever tasted anything from Kentucky Owl.
Gotcha.
But other than that, it would have to be a BTAC, of course.
Yeah.
Four Roses. It would have to be coming from somewhere that I would have faith in what they're what they're producing.
And that's
regularly.
I think that kind of speaks to to the sourced issue, you know, and it's nothing against sourced whiskey. And I know there's tons of non-distilling producers that are doing great stuff. I mean, we love like Three Chord, man, you know, Barrel Craft. I mean, all the stuff they're doing, they're sourcing everything, and the blends that they come out with are phenomenal. I mean, there's
Barrel Seagrass is, I mean,
frick yeah, man. I got a bottle over there in the closet. As a matter of fact, we have to break that. We'll break that out after the show. But yeah, man. So you know, those guys, I trust them. We've had them on the show. We've drank their stuff, and they're doing a great job. But there's just some of these brands that I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to pay $250 for a 12-year-old sourced MGP from somebody that I don't know anything about. And that's just maybe my mindset. Maybe I just need to be like, well, maybe it's worth it, but I don't know, man. I just have a hard time with that.
No, I get it completely. I mean, you look at, we've kind of gone into like which this is one of the topics we had in is when does, you know, bourbon stop being worth the price. But,
right.
So we're crossing paths here. But I mean, you take like Bullet, for example. We know that they source from places like MGP. We know they source from Barton. We know they've sourced from plenty of other places, Four Roses, for example. I mean, when you're seeing a Bullet barrel pick that's like, 14 years, 36% rye, Kentucky, you know that's got to be contract distilled MGP that's probably been aged here. But I mean, how else are you going to get that? And people will shit on Bullet all day long, but
yeah. But you know it's got to be good. I mean, it's going to be good stuff.
It's got to be good stuff. But that's priced reasonably. I mean, that'd probably be a $60 to $75 barrel pick versus you take, you know, Matt's, you know, favorite whiskey, whatever, and whatever he decides to call his whiskey brand, and he has a 14-year-old MGP and he sells it for $1,000. But it's 14-year-old MGP. You don't find that anymore. Right.
So yeah, I agree. All right, guys. So let's jump back to the Wiseman. What do you guys think in terms of the palate? Chad, I'll start with you, man.
Go to Matt because I've not tried it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. You over there? You just finished yours off, man. Goodness gracious, dude.
I think it's good. I think the palate drinks a lot like it smells, like it comes through on the nose. I pick up that cherry more on the palate. It's definitely not hot. You can tell it's 90 proof. There's a little bit of rye, a little bit of spice coming down the end on the finish. But there's nice cherry. There's a little bit of vanilla, a touch of oak on there. I pick up like some toffee or like some almost like a caramel pecan or something. Like think of like a glaze, like the glazing of a cinnamon roll.
Oh yeah,
It had like pecans on it as well, like something kind of like that. It's good.
Yes, yeah. What about you, Philip? What are you getting, man?
I get the apple and the caramel. I get a little bit of like a peanut on the back end, and then when I breathe out after, you know, I've taken it in, I get a little bit of a smoke flavor. And then I do feel like it kind of falls a little flat, judging by like some of the age stuff that's in here, like the 5.5 to 8 year. I feel like it definitely drinks like a 4-year-old. I think the 8.5-year-old kind of gets lost in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And the finish doesn't really linger too long. The burn and the flavor kind of dies off pretty quick, but it's a good drinkable bourbon.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, Philip. That was the one thing I was going to definitely say was, you know, you get a little bit of that spiciness, like Matt said, some of the rye, because there is a high rye in this. It's 4-year-old, and the flavor's good. You know, the cherry comes through to me. I actually pick up some leather on it, which is kind of weird because usually that's the older bourbon, so that could be the 8.5 coming through maybe a little bit. I'm not sure, but yeah, the finish, you know, it just, I don't want to say it falls flat, but it dissipates so quickly. I would really like to have more of a mouth, you know, like a more full mouth fill, and a little bit more of a linger with the spice or something, but I don't get that. But I like the flavor. I like the nose. I like the flavor, but the palate or the finish kind of falls a little flat for me. So Chad, what do you think? Chad, man, I have to compliment you on your blackened American whiskey flat bill hat that you're wearing tonight. That is sharp.
Thank you, Mark. My buddy Mark gave this to me. So.
Yeah, man, that looks good. It looked terrible on me, but it looks good on you. So,
I wasn't gonna say it.
Yeah, I know. So what do you think, man? What are you picking up in terms of the palate and the finish on this one?
So the palate, you can definitely tell there's 4-year-old wheated in here. Something about 4-year-old wheat. It's more of like a I don't know what it is. That's where the green apple always comes in for me.
Okay.
Like anytime I have a younger wheated bourbon, I always get that baked green apple, which I enjoy, but that kind of always lets me know, hey, it's wheated. There is a slight breadiness to it, kind of almost like a sourdough quality. It's got a nice little The nose changed to like a nice little mustiness on there. I think the leather you were talking about kind of comes through between the nose and the palate.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's a thin mouthfeel. It appears oily in the glass, but the actual liquid itself, it comes off as maybe, I don't know if it's been, chill filtered or not, but I mean, it definitely doesn't have as much fats and as much crazy of a mouthfeel as I expected it to. It's good. I don't remember what the price is on this.
Is it, Matt, is it
$60,
$60, right? That's what I was thinking, $60. So that's kind of in that zone. It's kind of like,
yeah, I mean, there's for $60, there's other things I would like to have, but you know what? I would pay $60 to have this bottle around.
just to have the bottle.
Just to have it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
is good enough to have as an occasional pour, but it's not life-changing.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably add $15 more and just buy Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and be happy.
Yes.
Matt, what about you, man? What do you think in terms of what do you think?
It's good. I enjoy it. I would get it out at a restaurant for a pour if it were priced reasonably. Otherwise,
This would go great with fish.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could have 2 Country Smooth and a nice hot ham and cheese sandwich for the same price.
There you go.
You could.
That's a good point. Philip, what do you think, man? Is this
I agree with Matt. It's no, I think that for the price point, it's probably a little higher than what I would pay. I agree with Matt, like at a restaurant or something. If it was reasonably priced, I wouldn't have a problem pouring it. And honestly, like I pulled up the bottle and I'm looking at it. I'm honestly surprised that it's $60 because it looks like they probably put a lot of money into the packaging.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's probably for what they've spent on the bottle. I would say it's probably actually reasonably priced compared to most Kentucky Owl products.
Yeah.
But to interject real quick, this is what Confiscated should have been priced at, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
And I mean, to put those on the same level, hands down, much better pricing scheme for them. I just hope that continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there, Chad. Let's hope we see more of this in the future.
I agree, man. Very solid point. And honestly, not my favorite bourbon, but I would buy it. I mean, I would. I would buy it just to have it and share it with friends. And I like it. Like I said, the finish falls a little flat for me, but the nose is great. I really enjoy the palate.
Nice, easy drinker.
It really is. You can sit around.
You could have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Not leave your.
I was gonna say it would definitely be something approachable if you had friends over and somebody that maybe drinks bourbon every once in a while, but not a lot.
Right.
This would be definitely something you'd be like, hey, here's a nice bottle.
A gateway.
Yeah.
It's a gateway bourbon.
Yeah.
Philip, I think you make a really great point there. It's got really like sweet, approachable flavors. There's nothing like no huge oak or tobacco, nothing.
The spice on it's not like
Spice isn't going to blow you up. Yeah,
Right.
it's not tannic.
This is something that when you have a Christmas party or something,
Sure.
and one of your friends comes over and is curious about your bourbon collection and wants to pour something, but isn't a huge bourbon drinker, you say, you want. This has got some good bourbon flavors in it. It's got some other stuff that is a little bit more approachable and a little more likable by everyone, and won't burn you up or leave you super super hot in the palate.
That makes sense to me. All right, guys, we've kind of reached the end. We have reached the end of round one. So anything you guys want to add before we close it out and get a word from our sponsor? Anyone? Bueller?
I'll say this for those people who are on the fence, who may have been into the brand because of Dixon himself. I feel like the previous brand, nothing against Dixon, because it does tie to his family heritage.
Right.
He wanted it to be about him, which it should have. I think the mistake was whenever he sold the brand wanted it to be focused on the brand, not what it was, not on him or the family heritage. I think their way of recovering from that is the Wiseman, trying to pay homage to like, hey, this is an old brand, but we're going in a new direction, and they've done it tastefully. So I think people should try it,
yeah,
and go into it with an open mind.
Good point, man. I can't top that. Anybody? Matt, Philip, you guys good?
I was just gonna say, I think with what they're going to be doing with the new at the Kentucky Owl Park, I think this is a good. Probably a good flagship bourbon to be their standard line for that.
Oh, nice point.
Launches,
good point, man.
I think, and then I'm sure they're going to have some limited releases and stuff like that that'll go above and beyond this. But I think it's a good, solid thing for what they're building down there.
Philip, you get the applause for the valuable, the great point right there, man. So that was awesome. And Matt's like, Matt's rolling his eyes. He hates when I do the sound pad. Sorry about that, dude. But with the new mixing board, come on. I got to have some fun. All right, guys, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with the Bourbon Life crew in just a minute. Located just east of Lake Tahoe and the Sierra Nevada mountains, Frey Ranch Distillery was founded by fifth-generation Nevada farmers. Our grain-to-glass bourbon is made using a 4-grain mash bill, including a non-GMO corn, rye, wheat, and barley, all of which is 100% sustainably grown on the 1,500-acre Frey Ranch. And our commitment to excellence shows with a recent gold medal win at the 2020 Whiskeys of the World and USA Spirits competitions. Find out more at www.freyranch.com.
The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode. Jeez. Welcome back to round session, whatever, 2.
Come on, hold it together there, Skipper.
Golly, man. Matt, you're just cracking me up, man. I'm sorry. Welcome back for round 2 of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, man. And I'm not the only one here.
I know.
That's right, because we've got Chad is with us as well, my daily bourbon. That's right. And also Philip, Bourbon Hunting KY.
Yeah.
So we got the whole crew. That's
Yeah,
right.
man.
So as we said, we got another Flights of the Round going on tonight.
Flights of the... I like that, Matt. That's awesome, man, even though it's a rectangular table. But
Yeah.
it's okay.
Whatever.
We're going to stick with that. Now I'm going to have to get a new table and make it round.
I just saw the edges off this one.
Don't put holes in it, but
I was going to
saw the
say,
edges
you told
off.
me not to drill holes in it. Now you're telling me to saw the edges off. Goodness gracious, man. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun so far, so let's kind of keep it going. What do you think?
Yeah, let's
yeah.
do it. So what do we have poured up?
This is...
Am I taking this one?
Yeah, man.
You do
Why
this
don't you
one.
take that here? Pass that bottle
Yeah.
down to Matt so he can gander up on it and read up on it and
Can we talk
everything.
about how cute this bottle is?
It is a cute little bottle, isn't it, man?
Does it only come in 375s, I wonder?
I don't know. That's a good question. But, they sent me that box. I got that probably a month or so ago and kind of put it in the closet because I knew I wanted to have it on a show at some point and do something. So I had not opened it up until today. But, man, the box that it came with,
The presentation is...
presentation is
Top-notch.
great. I wish
All
everybody
right.
could see this.
So if everybody listening, we have baited your breath long enough here talking about the box we got it in, the bottle it comes in, everything
it
else.
came with a glass.
It came with
Everything else
a rocks
about
glass.
what it is.
Yeah, it came with an ice ball mold. I mean, it's
This
pretty-
is, and it says on the label, Texas in a bottle.
Texas in a bottle.
Texas in a bottle. So this is the Grayson Texas Blended Bourbon Whiskey. This is a small batch, aged at least 3 years, distilled and bottled in Texas. So this is coming in at 119.4 proof.
Wow.
And this is from Grayson Whiskey. And they were nice enough to send us a huge gift box here. So thank you all so much, Grayson, including a very, very nice,
Isn't that nice?
card.
That's a beautiful card, man.
I'll just read here.
All right.
Greetings. We are excited to share with you Grayson Whiskey, the newly released first Texas blended bourbon. The result of a partnership with 3 local award-winning distilleries, this complex yet harmonious blend of straight Texas whiskeys is a truly authentic expression. We hope you enjoy your sample and look forward to hearing your thoughts. And this is from the crew with Grayson Whiskey.
Yeah, man. And it's a beautiful card. It's handwritten, and it's it had the wax embossed, the seal on the back of it.
Absolutely. So
Very nice, man.
yeah, we've got 3 different whiskeys are going into this. So they're all Texas whiskeys. So we have Iron Root, Balcone, and Lone Elm, a blend of those 3 on there. So this is truly Texas in a bottle. Grayson tonight, Texas forever. As it says on the inside of our box here. Thank you for
I knew
for
there was a
pointing that out.
tagline, Matt. I had to open the box to find. I was like, I know they got a really cool little tagline. So there you
But
go.
you got to say it like all sultry, like Grayson tonight, Texas forever.
Texas forever.
I don't have that radio voice.
There you go. That's all right. You got.
But
Matt.
you do have that palate, so let's hear what you got for us, Chad.
No,
What do you think?
Not the
on
palate. No, let's get the nose.
Let's get the nose.
the
Also,
nose.
I didn't make it this year, Matt. Nice way to rub it in. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, what happened, dude?
I just didn't get in.
I'm sorry. Well, they probably said since you made it so far last year, they just like
They're like, you know what? We don't want to
rotate
give him
you.
another try.
We don't want to give him a chance.
We'll let other people go.
We're talking about the
World's top whiskey.
World's
taster.
top whiskey. Yeah, the Bardstown Bourbon competition. Chad did very well. Finished second in the state of Kentucky last year, which is huge. And so entered again, and unfortunately did not make it as far. But
They've
that's
been
okay.
reading all your reviews. They just know. they know that you were just gonna.
They're like, this guy's doing just fine.
You're
he doesn't
gonna-
need $20,000.
He doesn't need us $20,000 from us,
do.
man.
You were gonna do like what is it called? Like when a sommelier doesn't even taste something, they just like blind and call it out. Like call out the year, the vintage.
Oh no, I didn't know.
forget. There's a really cool documentary called Somm.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
And
no.
there's some on it. There's some master sommelier that does that at one point, like during a sommelier test. He doesn't taste anything. He just like smells it and just like rips through 5 samples and is absolutely correct. Like type of wine, where it was made,
Wow.
Yeah.
the grapes,
Yeah.
the year.
It's crazy
Yeah.
the how extensive they get with that with wine. We had a guy at Total Wine who worked with us. He no longer does because of health issues. But I mean, he was a Somm level 2. I mean, there's only so many Somm level 3s in the entire world. I mean, it's like you can count them on 2 hands. But to be a level 2 is
That means they're less than 10.
that's right. But to be a level 2 is still a big feat, and
Sure.
that's I mean, we Total Wine, we'd get wines, and he'd be like, we'd just pour them up blind. I don't want to say his name, but like, hey, so and so, where do you think this is? And he'd be like, it smells like grape X Y Z, and you're like, son of a bitch, it is grape X Y and Z. You are 100% correct.
Wow,
But
man.
I'm waiting for that to happen with whiskey, like when they're going to be like, where is this corn grown?
What's the Terra on the on the what kind of magnesium content was in the soil on that one? I don't
Was
know.
this a heavy clay?
Yeah,
or-
was it? Yeah, yeah.
They really do get into that though with wine.
I know they get into it starting to get into it a little bit with bourbon, man. That
Well, speaking of getting into it,
we should probably get back
Let's
to
just
the
get into it
yeah,
here. Come on.
yeah.
Hey,
I
all right,
digress.
Philip.
I-
Let's kick it to Philip here. Chad's still playing with it. Philip, what you got?
Philip, what'd you got?
Give us some
All right,
notes.
so by what you read, I would say this smells like Texas. I get tobacco, I get leather.
Smells like
I
Smells like cow
I
manure.
do.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It does not smell like cow
I do. I
manure.
get tobacco, I get leather, I get some smoke, a little bit of cinnamon, and then if you really take a real deep breath in, I get like a Werther's Original on the back.
Nice. Gotcha. Look at man, Chad's over here like working his hands and everything to get that. So now that you've properly worked it over, bourbon Somm, what do you pick up on that?
Well, I was just doing a sarcastic mouth, like closed, deep sniff. So it does not nose like 119.4 proof.
No.
I just want to lay that out there. It
Yeah.
is so soft,
at all, yeah.
but rich at the same time. There's no ethanol. It's not burning my nostrils. I get a lot of dessert notes on this. I mean, I get the same like the tobacco, but it's more of that funky barn dried tobacco, a lot of that musty oak, but it's very dessert laden. Like there's a good bit of like molasses, some vanilla cream in there, baked dough. It is.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about Texas whiskey, and that's why I think it's going to be the next big thing is because that heat beats the crap out of those barrels. And I mean, it's always so dessert forward.
Yeah. Matt, what about you, man? What are you picking up?
First thing I really picked up on this was nice grain. It's nice to be able, with a lot of the Texas whiskeys we've had, I think even though they drink a whole lot older than the age on them,
Right.
you still get that really good grain. You can taste and smell the craft that went into this. I smelled like really good corn, but it's not that white dog corn. It's not fresh off the still corn.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
it's nice. It's like a celebration of the grain. And then I pick up like pecan. I get pecan wood a little bit coming out of this.
Okay.
Like a sweet pecan, almost like a dessert pecan. I don't want to say like full on roasted, but it's got some characteristics of pecan in there. A little bit of grain again, like maybe some grass or hay, but not the unwelcome kind.
Not the bad kind of hay. the good kind of hay, right? But no,
like a little menthol, almost like eucalyptus.
Okay. I'm not getting that, but I keep going back to it to smell it. I pick up almost like a raisin, like a dark raisin. I don't know why, but that just pops in my head.
I can see that.
Just a little fruitiness on that. But man, I agree. This is not nose like 119.
Yeah, it's
119.4.
I could still feel my nostril.
Yeah,
seriously.
I mean, usually 119 proof, it'd be like,
Yeah, it'd be kind of tough, but not at all, man. And I have to say, the color on this,
oh yeah,
is gorgeous, man. Absolutely love it. I wish people could see.
Look at the oils, man. I mean, like the legs on this,
everything's it's clinging to the glass. It's beautiful. And the cool thing is, this is kind of, I guess, Matt, to me, it's kind of reminiscent of the Lost Lantern. We had Nora and Adam on the show. I think it was episode 50 that we did with those guys, and they were doing single barrels, but they were going around and finding these distillers, and they were releasing single barrels under the Lost Lantern brand, but on the labels, I mean, it said specifically
where it came from.
This was a single barrel from this place. So very similar to what they're doing. I mean, of course, this is a blend. It's not a single barrel, but it's Balcones iron. Every time I see Balcones, I think about Batman and Falcone, the bad guy, right?
Yep.
And, yeah. So Balcones, Iron Root Republic, and Lone Elm, which we had Bill Wofford from Lone Elm on the show. That was, gosh, man, that was a long time ago, Matt. That was like episode 45. That's almost half a lifetime ago for the podcast. But we've always been fans of Texas whiskey. It's like everybody we have on from Texas. I'm just, and I agree, Chad. I think Texas whiskey, Texas bourbon is probably going to be the next big, everybody that's doing stuff down there, I think they're doing a great job. What do you guys?
I've yet to have a bad Texas whiskey. I mean,
what about you, Matt?
I was having this conversation with a neighbor of mine just last
Okay.
week, actually. We were talking about all the different bourbons, and he was asking the question, I thought it had to be from Kentucky to be bourbon. And so
Yes, it does. Mark always says yes.
Yeah. So we went down that road, and we just got to talking about some things, and I brought up Bespoken Spirits, and I let him try some stuff and said, this has been aged 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, and he was blown away. But anyway, let me get back to Texas whiskey here. I was talking about what they can do in Texas, how the climate and the atmosphere makes such a difference. And I think, Chad, you're absolutely right. Texas whiskey is definitely going to be up and coming, and it's a really great celebration of the younger grains, the younger spirits. Because there's not going to be 9-year, 10-year-old Texas whiskey. It just doesn't make sense.
There wouldn't be anything left in the barrel, man.
Yeah, I mean, here's 3 bottles.
Yeah, Texas bourbon pudding at the end.
That would be, it literally would be
Syrup.
sludge.
It'd be syrup, just a sludge, Yeah. Philip, what about you, man? What have you had many Texas whiskeys? Are you familiar with the bourbons?
Yeah, I've had a few. I know I've had some Iron Root. I've had some Balcones. And there's one thing that I will always say is you'll never mistake a Texas bourbon for a Kentucky or MGP bourbon. They are so drastically different, but they're so good in their own way.
Yeah.
And I think all y'all right. I think Texas is an up-and-coming bourbon state, and it definitely stands out. You won't get it confused with Kentucky bourbon, and it's really good. Yeah,
I agree. And we've been fortunate. Like I said, we had Bill Wofford from Lone Elm on the show. Mm-hmm. We had Tony
Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez with Treaty Oak.
Treaty Oak. We just had Still Austin on the show.
We've had Still Austin now on the show.
Ooh, I can't.
Dan Garrison.
We had Dan Garrison from Garrison Brothers, man. We've had 4, So what'd you say, Chad?
I forgot that I got a bottle from Still Austin before I went to Seattle. So
which one is it? That the black label, the single, or the cast? Is it cast strength?
No, this is just the regular
musician, the white label.
Yep. Oh, so good.
Well, jeez, that was like the surprise. One of the surprise bourbons, I think, of the year for us. Man, was just like it was. We got that, and it was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, like, what?
Well, they sent me a full bottle, which first off, thank you guys for doing so. I don't know what I did to deserve a full bottle, but I forgot that I got that because I've not opened anything since coming back from vacation, and now Thursday I'm off work, and I'm so excited to be able to crack that bottle.
Do some
open.
still awesome. Man, I'm telling you, that musician is fantastic. Philip, have you had a musician? Have you had a chance to sing?
I have not. No, I haven't had any kind of Still Austin products.
Dude, we got to hook you up, man. We'll take care of you. See, if you were here live with us tonight, rather than calling in, you could sit here after the show and drink what you want to drink, right? So, all right. So, what do you guys want to talk about? We got some topics that we're going to discuss a little bit here, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So let me get into the typical question. So this is a brand who is sourcing other brands, which is nothing new to this world, but every brand, it seems like, wants to call themselves craft.
Right.
The public's view on craft whiskey is kind of shifting. I mean, you've got brands like Heaven Hill who say they're craft because there's a craft approach to what they do. Bardstown Bourbon Company says a craft. Barrel Craft Spirits has gone on record saying, like Stellum and stuff is the craft approach to their brand.
Right.
What do you think? When does craft stop becoming craft? And do you think the public wants to is craft what is selling it? Like, is this, they're taking three actual craft brands from Texas, they're blending it together and they're putting out this bourbon. Should that be enough to earn them the title of a craft brand, or do you think that there actually needs to be some grains being distilled? They need to have like an 8-person crew, or can it be multi-thousand billion-dollar industry?
That's a great question. Matt, what do you think, man?
I don't know. It's a complex question, I think.
It is. Look at Matt's like leaning back in the chair, like pulled the mic up.
Let me grab the mic.
Be careful, man. You don't have a lot of cord over there, Matt,
I know.
because they're all on top of the table.
Using my cord wisely here. I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think it also brings into play, should we be having to say whether your bourbon, whiskey, rye, whatever it is distilled or blended?
Right.
Because if you're distilled, you could say, oh, well, no matter who we are, we distilled it. We made this, it's craft. If you're blending it, you could say, well, somebody distilled it. We just blended it, so it's craft.
Right.
Like, should there be some sort of a distinction if you are an NDP, non-distilling producer? Should you have to maybe make some sort of a distinction that way, and that could rule you out of being craft for distilling, but maybe craft for blend? I don't know. It's a complex question. It seems like there's room at the table for everybody. I appreciate when companies are very open and disclose.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like with Jake from Off Hours that we had last week, he was like, look, I'm from Lawrenceburg, Indiana originally, and I live in LA, but I'm sourcing barrels from MGP. I'm going to tell everybody I'm sourcing barrels from MGP. And then we're blending them together. And he's got Ashley Barnes over there in Louisville that's helping him do that. So yeah, I appreciate his, but that's, the appeal to you millennials and the Gen Zers out there that are listening,
just give credit.
I hung
where
out with
credit's
older
due.
kids when I was in high school, Mark.
No, but I agree. But I agree. I mean, the transparency, I think there are brands that are transparent. There's some that aren't. But whether or not that qualifies them as craft, it's funny because I think about Chase over at Nulu.
His is more about the experience of it being craft.
and he's sourcing. Everybody knows.
They don't hide it.
Nulu sources from MGP, and he doesn't hide that. But man, he does some really cool stuff with it. So in my mind, that's a craft. I mean, his ability to take bourbon and blend 2 toasted barrels, or to get a honey barrel and to leave it in there and finish it and know when to take it back out. I mean, that to me, that takes a lot of skill. So I think that's a craft to me.
So here's my caveat to that, though, is someone like Buffalo Trace, because they have honed in their craft, they have perfected that craft. Are they craft?
No. They can't.
So is craft a term for those that's a little rougher on the edges, or is craft a term for those who have, they're experimenting, they're doing things that are out of the norm, or is it they've perfected something? Because the heritage brands are looking at it as, we've perfected this. It is a craft. We understand the craft. And you got these small players and NDPs who are kind of like, we're either distilling it or we're blending it, but we're doing something that's not original and that's not normal.
No, that's a good question, but let the Frankfurt guy answer. Philip, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, I feel like and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of distilleries are jumping on the craft beer bandwagon because craft beer exploded because they were trying different things. They were from small breweries. They weren't the Budweisers, the Millers, the Sam Adams. And so I feel like, to me, if it's going to be considered a craft distillery, then I feel like if it's sourced and they want to call themselves craft, it would have to be something like Nulu's doing. They have to, blend it in toasted barrels or finished barrels. They have to do something different with it.
Pushing the envelope.
And then I feel like, too, if you've got like 4 or more brands that you produce on the shelf, you're not a craft distillery. You're one of the big guys. You're a large volume distillery. That's not craft. I feel like Jeff at the Creed, that's a good example. I think, they might have 1, maybe 2 bourbons on the shelf. They're doing something different. They have a small still. I think still size has a lot to do with like your amount of production. To me,
well, I mean, technically by KDA, that is, your productive amount, but not to be technical in that. It's more of a public sense.
Yeah. I feel like some of the big guys, like if Heaven Hill is trying to say they're craft, I feel like they're trying to reach out to maybe like that craft beer crowd that likes, say, a barrel-aged stout, and they might just be transitioning to bourbon, and then they're like, oh, well, Heaven Hill says they're a craft distillery, so let's try them. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't, I don't consider that craft. It has to be like a good one, like Neely Family Distillery. I would consider them a craft distillery. They've got a small still. The way they distill their stuff is different. They do everything different than everybody else.
Yeah.
To me, that's a craft distillery, and I agree,
Heaven
Hill or Buffalo Trace.
I agree in terms that, I think size has a lot to do with it. In my mind, if they're a small distillery, they're putting out they're distilling a few barrels a day, or even a few, maybe 50, 100, whatever. If they're, that to me kind of defines craft. I just think in terms of size, what they're putting out, they got 1 brand, maybe, or 1 expression, maybe 2. But Heaven Hill, yes, distilling bourbon is a craft. Yes, they have perfected that, but they have taken it to mass production. They're like the cotton gin of bourbon. No, I mean seriously, it's like
they are.
You're
right.
It is is mass produced. So I think it's hard to be able to say Heaven Hill, and Heaven Hill. I'm a homer for those guys. I love their stuff, but I would not look at Heaven Hill and think, oh yeah, that's a great craft distillery.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how I was gonna say, how many brands does Heaven Hill have on the shelf? I mean, I could count probably at least like 10.
Yeah,
so it's like
the guy that works.
I mean, that's
there's
not,
a lot.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah, that's not, and I think too, like, I work for Country Smooth. Well, there's, we're sourced, but I wouldn't consider Country Smooth a craft. That's not a craft bourbon.
Right.
It's a small batch, bourbon.
Yeah.
So I think it ought to be defined pretty tightly. I think it gets used way too much.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I agree.
All right, so speaking of bourbon, let's get back and talk about this Grayson in terms of the palate, the finish. Who wants to jump in, man?
Oh, I'll go first.
Look at Chad's like, I'm going to do it.
I love this. I hope we get this.
By the way, Chad, I've noticed you're triple fisting over there. You've got bourbon, you got water, and you've got a Country Boy Cougar bait, man. So I'm impressed.
Oh, the beer's been long gone. I keep shaking it, going back for it, but it's been long gone. I can kill some Country Boy, man.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about the bourbon?
Oh, it is. It's just maple syrup, molasses, just dessert. A little bit of smoke in there, nice burnt caramel, butterscotchy kind of thing going on. A lot of vanilla cream. I mean, it's phenomenal. This is like, holy shit, this is really good.
I'm not going to say anything yet. Matt, what about you, man? What do you think?
I think the heat from the proof really comes through right up front. Mm-hmm. It's got that, it brings a good heat, good spice right up front. And then for me, it gets kind of dry. And I pick up a lot of cocoa powder and a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get the coffee.
I don't get the coffee, but I get the well, to me it comes across more like just chocolate.
Yeah.
Not necessarily cocoa.
So I get like bittersweet.
Yes.
Dark.
There you go.
Cocoa.
Yeah.
So not like chocolate, but a cocoa.
I got you.
And the coffee really comes
Listen
through
to
for me.
the guy that was a baker and a restaurant industry guy versus I say chocolate, but yes, Matt, I agree.
It's not chocolate, it is cacao.
It's 85% cacao, right, dude? So just no, but I agree, Matt. Yes. I do get that as well. So, but I don't get, you said it, you said a little drying, right? Mm-hmm. Philip, do you get that? You get any drying?
I do. On the finish, I definitely get, my mouth gets kind of like that dry feel.
Okay.
And I definitely get some of the maple and the smoke. I get a lot of cinnamon off this one.
Okay.
And then I also get a little bit of that grain taste that comes with, Texas bourbon. I do get some of the grain on the taste. I mean, it's a delicious bourbon. I would for sure buy this.
Seriously, I don't know what the cost of this is, but honestly, I mean, I'm a fan. Like, two thumbs way up on this one. I'm really, really surprised. Well, I shouldn't say I'm really surprised, because every Texas bourbon that we have had on the show, we have really enjoyed. So, and we've not had Iron Root or Balcones, but I'm just not surprised that it's good. But man, goodness.
So I've got one thing to throw in there. Back to the last topic.
Okay.
For example, Woodford Reserve, Old Forester, these 375s go for about what, $50 to $55?
50, right.
100. Is this a $100 750 to you?
I would probably pay it for the barrel proof, the 119.4.
I think I would as well.
Yeah, I think I would. Matt, no.
No, I'm not one much for coffee. I'm getting too much coffee.
Are you? Okay.
Out of this one.
I love coffee. When you said coffee, I was like, that's the note that I'm missing. I love that.
Philip, what about you, man? Would you pay $100 for 750?
I would. So I know if it was 65, it would be all day long.
Yeah.
If it was sitting there at 100, I'd be like, God, it's really good, but is it that good? I would probably convince myself to buy it. It's good.
Matt, you're the last man standing on that one, man. So
What are you going to do?
what are you gonna do? All right, guys. Into round 2 here. Before we wrap it up, any final thoughts on this Grayson whiskey?
Well, 3 out of 4 just said we'd pay up to $100 for it, so I think that pretty much,
Yeah,
that says it. That Matt sucks.
Do you all know?
Come on, man.
I'm joking.
Do you all know with Grayson? Do they have are they planning on doing any kind of distilling, or they just have like a tasting room and they age their barrels?
I don't know anything about them, man. I got on their website today just to look, but yeah, we don't have an info sheet or anything. We just got the fancy box and the rocks glass and the ice mold and the beautiful
I would
hand.
say, yeah. My final thing on them would be they are off to a hell of a start.
I think so too, man. This is
absolutely.
This is a great way to start. So I'm thankful that they sent that to us. I'm glad I waited for a month or so to open it up with you guys and share it, man. So that's been really fun to do that. All right, guys, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with the Bourbon Life crew in just a minute. Spirits of French Lick crafts their spirits using only the finest agricultural product that has defined character, following their motto, respect the grain. They lead the way in representing the quality of the Hoosier artisan distilling process while paying tribute to its inseparable past. By implementing best practices from those early times, combined with modern touches, Spirits of French Lick has created a truly unique place in the industry. Spirits of French Lick products are distributed throughout Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri, and can also be purchased online through Sealbox at sealbox.com. Visit spiritsofFrenchlick.com to learn more information and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final session round segment period of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me tonight in the Bourbon Life studios, we've got the entire Bourbon Life crew. Well, sort of Philip's calling in, but we'll consider him to be here with us in person. How's everybody doing tonight? Matt, how are you, man?
Oh, Mark, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Living the dream, man. Living the
Bourbon life.
Living the Bourbon Life around the flights of the rectangle table. Yeah. Chad, how you doing, man?
Best way to end a work day.
Yeah, isn't this great, man?
Yeah.
You just do this every day because you're only like not even 5 minutes away from here.
I'm not even 2 minutes
Not
away.
even 2 minutes away, man. So just finish your work day unless it's late because I'll be in bed after 9:30 because I'm old. But, come over and hang out and have a drink. Philip, how you doing over there, man?
I'm doing good.
Frankfurt, man, the state's capital. Living the dream.
Doing good. Surviving the, social media meltdown today.
Oh, man, what the hell? Instagram, Facebook down.
I know I couldn't check Instagram at work.
I was like,
going
what
on?
the hell?
Me, it was nice. It was honestly.
No, it was awful, man.
Just
couldn't
What does the guy do when he goes to the
just having
bathroom?
I know, it's like, what, you go to the bathroom?
That's why I didn't go to the bathroom today,
You
man.
can't do anything? It's like...
You could still read all the trash talk on Twitter.
I don't have Twitter.
There was no doubt about that. I do have a Twitter account just to jump in, but I don't post anything on there. But yeah, that's true. It's crazy. I mean, because I had to actually do regular work today. I couldn't just sit there and look at social media. I know Matt, like he's shocked, but yeah. So yeah, social media meltdown with Facebook and Instagram. But hey, I think everything is back up and running. So everybody's doing good tonight. We're having a good time.
That's right.
Hanging out here in the Bourbon Life studio, otherwise known as my basement. We got something kind of special poured up for the third round. So who wants to do this one? Chad?
Do I read the bottle? That's
Whatever
a lot.
you want to do, man.
That's a lot to read.
I got fancy notes here, man. I work hard during the day to make these notes.
Which I've noticed we went from being forehead to just the top of the nose. We are drinking George T. Stagg. This is the 2020 BTAC release, 130.4 proof, 15 years, 4 months. Mash bill 1, low rye, maybe 10%, give or take. No one really knows. Buffalo Trace is so secretive
stingy.
about that.
So stingy about that.
It's not like, I could produce, even with the same recipe, that I'd be able to produce the same product, but they think that.
Because they're craft.
That
Hey,
is
bring it to my
because
house.
they are craft.
We can age it in my garage. Just bring it.
But I'm excited for this. Philip, I think he sarcastically asked for us to drink this tonight, and Mark just went along with it. So
I texted everybody. I'm like, hey, what do you guys want to drink? I got 2 picked out. I picked out the Wiseman and Grayson because they sent that to us. And I'm like, we need a third. And Philip's like, hey, why don't we drink your George T. Stagg? I'm like, shit, are you serious? I'm like, all right, man. If you want to, we'll drink George T. Stagg. So
can't say no.
Yeah, we are enjoying some George T. Stagg. So Philip, since this was your suggestion, what are you picking up on this one?
So I definitely get it's like a caramel bomb for me right off the bat. I get some oak for the nose, or from the age. It has to be. But other than that, I don't get a lot of notes off of it. It smells delicious, and I feel like it's got that Buffalo Trace nose, but it's not. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of one-dimensional for me.
Okay, gotcha. Matt, what about you, man?
I get a lot of oak. You get an overwhelming amount of oak right on the nose, and then a lot of leather comes through. It's like thinking like old leather-bound book coming through on
like
the nose.
Ron Burgundy's home with his library with many volumes leather-bound books.
And I actually get some ethanol. I get a little bit of burn,
the
nose with it as well. Maybe some of that caramel is coming through. But I agree with Philip on this one. I've got to give you credit. It does have kind of that typical Buffalo Trace mash bill 1 nose on it.
You're not a fan of that, are you, Matt?
Not particularly.
No, I knew. Yeah, Matt is not a Buffalo Trace.
Maybe not my favorite.
Yeah, I know. As soon as you said that, I was like, that's right. Triggered or something. I was like, Matt does not like that. So, Chad, what about you, man?
130.4 proof. Definitely get some of the ethanol, but I get and I get this with a lot of Buffalo Trace stuff. It's a mix of like a grape Kool-Aid with a little bit of a cherry, like an artificial cherry cola note in there.
Yeah.
Definitely getting that oak. But it's very sweet. Nice, like, I don't want to say cotton candy, but like when you smell someone like actually making cotton candy, that fluffy sugar, it's airy, sweet. I get that in there. And just musty barn, which I don't know. Take that how you want to. And I always tell people when I say musty barn, it reminds me of the barn where my friends' grandparents hung tobacco. And like you walk in, you smell the wood,
tobacco,
the dirt. I mean, everything.
Kind of combination.
Yeah.
I get cherry. You know, you talk about the cherry cola. It doesn't come across as cola, but I definitely pick up cherry, pick up oak. Obviously, 15 years, 4 months. You know, that's going to be there. I get like some maple syrup, some sweet. You're talking about sweetness.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's kind of to me, it's almost coming across a little bit like maple syrupy. So
I get like a saccharine sweetness, not
like a fake sweetness.
Yeah, not like a descript type of syrup, maple syrup.
That might be more, instead of like a sponge sugar. Saccharine might be more up the right word.
Wow, man.
Also, hold on. Mark is smelling more than just vanilla and caramel.
I know. It's like I've moved beyond vanilla and caramel, man. So come on, Matt. Just agree with me, man. Come on.
I do.
All right. But so that's kind of funny because it's like you guys aren't fans of the nose. Am I getting that right?
No.
Listen, yeah.
Go ahead, Philip.
Oh, go ahead. No, all right. I was gonna say y'all are probably gonna be like, kick him off the podcast, never bring him back. But honestly, I think the Benchmark Full Proof has a better nose than this George T. Stagg.
All right, Philip, I'm gonna kill your mic, and I'm sorry, you're done.
Because
wait, where's his slider?
I get more of the cherry off the Benchmark, and I don't know if it's because it's younger, but
yeah,
I do. I honestly think it has a better nose.
Okay, all right, Matt. What about you? You're not a fan of the nose.
No, I think the nose is good. It's quite inviting. I don't think it's anything remarkable. Not like some of the other stuff that I've certainly smelled from that caliber from the BTAC line in the past.
Gotcha.
It's got a good nose to it, but you know, I'm certainly not like overwhelmed.
Okay, gotcha.
It's
Chad,
a mature
in line
nose.
with that.
Yeah, I like the nose. I think SAS 18 has the best nose. SAS 18 from 2019 has the best nose of any whiskey I've ever smelled in my life. It just checked all the boxes. I mean, this is a close second, but I could see where Philip thought it fell a little flat. I don't think Benchmark Full Proof has a better nose, but I could see where he thought it is good of a nose.
Right.
But I enjoy the nose.
Yeah, I like it too. So take that. All right, guys. Let's have another topic. What are we going to talk about this round?
Do you think E.H. Taylor, Elmer T. Lee, or Blanton's will be a BTAC? People joke about Rock Hill Farms becoming a BTAC, but it's not a person. I mean, all BTACs are, besides Eagle and Saz, are people. You got Thomas H. Handy, William LaRue, George T. Stagg. Those are people. So I mean, do you think we'll see Elmer, E.H. Taylor, Blanton's, or maybe we'll throw it in there, a Rock Hill BTAC ever in the future? Especially because E.H. Taylor seems like Buffalo Trace's like broad experimental line.
Yeah.
And Blanton's is Blanton's. I mean, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of history with Elmer. So, I mean, do you think they'll ever kind of just kill those namestays off and just leave like Blanton's 93 proof and move on to, here's straight from the barrel, but in a tall wine bottle?
I always thought that the part of the allure and what they did with E.H. Taylor, aside the barrel proof, was it was always 50% or bottled in bond.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't everything?
I think, other than the barrel proof, everything else
is bottled in bond. I thought that was a lot of the appeal.
Yeah.
Behind how they did E.H. Taylor's brand was keeping it bottled in bond.
And I think you're right, Matt. So I can't imagine, because of the flexibility and the different releases that they can do with the E.H. Taylor, I think that would probably not be one that would end up in the BTAC line, just because with the tubes, and I mean, it's E.H. Taylor is kind of its own thing. So I can't see.
Well, and wasn't he like the one that like led the charge for bottled and bond? So that's kind of like his staple.
That's kind of his jam, right? So I think that would be a hard one to try to pull off. Not a hard one, but I just don't think it would match the Buffalo Trace branding and marketing for E.H. Taylor to say, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to release this new E.H. Taylor special release, and then we're going to do another E.H. Taylor. We're going to put it in the BTAC lineup. I just can't see that happening.
But to go against that,
counterpoint.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'll pretend like I am. You don't think that? So They've got barrel proof, and that's the only thing that kind of goes against the bottled and bond. You don't think you'd ever see, which all the BTACs are barrel proof. You don't think you'd ever see them do a commemorative, like, here is a 15-year-old bottled and bond Colonel E.H. Taylor BTAC line, once like in a lifetime kind of thing, like the coins you see in infomercials. You'll never see this again. You do Afterpay for $50 a month for 10 years, and it is yours.
It's your bottle. Yeah.
You don't think you'll ever see that?
No, I don't think so. It's a great idea. Maybe if Buffalo Trace is listening, Harlan, if you're out there listening to the podcast, you might want to, throw Chad a few bones there. But no, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine that happening. So that's just my.
I agree. I feel like because they release a special like limited edition Colonel Taylor every year,
right?
Separate from the BTAC, I feel like they're probably going to keep that path.
Sure.
If I would had to guess, if I would say there's probably going to be, if they ever added anything to the BTAC, I feel like because especially at Buffalo Trace, like if you go do the tours, they're all about the history, and so I feel like, like if you go on Freddie's tour, he talks about like there were guys that would go and pick specific barrels for Colonel Blanton. It wasn't Blanton didn't go pick those barrels. Like, the guys in the warehouse. I feel like if they ever added anything to the BTAC, that it would be something around them. I don't know, maybe like, I think the best I can remember from one of the tours, like Freddie's dad was like the hand-picked guy to pick Colonel Blanton's barrels. So maybe if they went that route to expand, their lineup, I feel like maybe that might be a possibility, but I can't see them putting actual Colonel Taylor's name on there, unless, of course, they just release the Harlan Wheatley barrel proof something. But
yeah, Matt.
Well,
other than rolling the balls around there, making loud noises on the beautiful podcast table, what?
Well, what else could they release?
Blanton's, man. I think Blanton's would be the choice, and I'll say that just because.
I don't think they would though, because Blanton's is so commemorative in the bottle.
Yeah, but you know what? But you think about it, man. I mean, think about where the bourbon industry was at the time that they decided to release that single barrel. I mean, it really kind of changed the industry back then. And I think Blanton's just has a special place in the history of bourbon. So I would think that if they were going to add something else to the BTAC lineup, and they got straight from the barrel.
Yeah, but aren't they kind of doing that with straight from the barrel now, announcing that it's coming to the U.S. in theory?
It's already here.
Well,
yeah,
that's true.
Sure.
Yeah, and the gold is here as well now, right? So
and so the best I can remember too, I think Blanton's is technically still owned by Ancient Age Distilling Company.
It is same with Rock Hill,
Buffalo Trace. So like Elmer. Rock
gotcha.
Hill, the Van Winkles, Buffalo Trace doesn't own the brand. They own the distribution and the bottling and distilling of it.
I gotcha.
So I feel like it would have to be either something new, or if they did go with the E.H. Taylor, because I believe they bought everything from, back from Beam or whoever owned it. But yeah, I feel like it's going to have to be something they own.
It could be Wheatley. Yeah. Wheatley Bourbon. The new BTAC, Harlan Wheatley.
Or
vodka.
They just launched a whole benchmark line. So what about a benchmark BTAC?
No, sir. No, sir.
It'd be a $60 bottle.
Hey, Philip, you get a 5-minute timeout on the podcast. I'm going to kill your mic. I'm just kidding. I'm not really going to do that. So, all right, guys. So let's talk about the palate and the finish on this George T. Stagg. Philip, again, because you wanted to drink this, I'm going to throw it to you.
All right. So the palate is, to me, much better than the nose.
Okay.
I get a lot more. I get that strong cherry flavor that I was looking for from that mash bill one. The oak is heavy, but the age definitely, I think, improves it. It does not drink at 130 proof at all. I feel like it drinks more at like a 115, kind of like a Weller full proof. Obviously, it's different mash bill, but that same proof range.
Right.
It's definitely, from the nose to the taste, it definitely steps up, and it shows it carries its weight for sure, I think, on the taste.
Gotcha. Matt, what about you, man?
I got to echo a lot of what Philip was just saying. I get a lot of cherry right on it too.
Yep.
It's got a good, nice, oily mouthfeel. I think that really comes through. Really, really coats the mouth well. It's not drying. Good oak. The leather and tobacco are coming through in there as well. I get a lot of heat though, and it's for a low rye. The heat for me, I don't know how welcome. It drinks hot. I think. I feel I am tasting 130 proof.
I got you. I can see that. I mean, I do feel I get that Kentucky hug on this, but it doesn't drink. When I think of 130 proof, I think of Elijah Craig barrel proof, and I think sometimes that I'm just like, whew, I mean, like almost takes my breath away. But this doesn't. But
yeah,
yes,
it's. I agree. It's a little subdued from that. I think maybe some of the age cut into what could have been possibly some unwanted spice coming through, or a little bit of ethanol, or just straight heat from it. But I still think it drinks pretty hot. I'll agree with Philip though. I think the palate is better than the nose.
What about you?
So, like I always like to do, is go back to the nose, and before I talk about the palate, a lot of maple syrup comes through to me on the nose now. But
man, I 100% agree with that.
It is a ton of maple syrup.
I can agree with that.
Yep.
But the palate, I get a little bit of that maple syrup, molassesy, sweet sugar thing going on. I do get the heat that Matt's talking about. But I surprisingly, as someone who loves tannins, I get a lot of tannins. My mouth is dry. I'm kind of salivating a bit.
That's just because you're drinking cougar bait, man.
It could be. It honestly could be. I don't dislike that. I don't know what it is, but I love that sensation of kind of like, oh, I'm thirsty after drinking whiskey. But I get a ton of baking spice. Nice, like fresh cinnamon powder. Just a hint of clove in there. It's got a nice nutmeg, a little bit of butterscotch, and like true like Werther's butterscotch kind of a note to me. But weirdly enough, at the end of like once I swallow, that Kentucky hug goes down, a little bit of the finish, I get some grain, a little bit of the rye grain. So I'm getting a little bit of fennel in there, which is kind of odd for a 15-year-old bourbon.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. To me, the cherry comes across. I mean, that's the first on the palate. But the nose, I agree. I went back and the maple syrup was like, oh, that was just like so prominent on the nose. And then that cherry, I like the finish on it. I like the hug. I mean, I'm a Stagg Junior fan, and for the last few years, it seems like the Stagg Junior has
outweighed
has really outperformed
old Papa Stagg.
Yeah. But I think this one actually, steps back up at 130.4. The proof comes back up. I think it's a pretty solid pour, man. So I think I really like this one.
Oh yeah, totally worth the 150.
Yeah.
Whoever paid for it, I don't know if you paid for it.
I did.
Okay, yeah, totally worth the 150. This goes back to section, chapter, edition, first ever, round one. Yeah, totally worth the 150.
Yeah, I agree with that. No question about it.
Mark, I agree with you though. I feel like, and I don't know if it's like the age thing, because what Stagg Junior's usually 10,
7 to 10.
Yeah,
7 to 10. So for me, with like this mash bill, I feel like there's that cherry note that I love in that mash bill one, and so like in Stagg Junior, like I think to me like hits that. It's like that perfect.
Yeah.
That perfect blend, and then like I'm losing that cherry on the Stagg, the regular Georgia Stagg. So
yeah,
I think the age sometimes loses a little bit of those fruit characteristics that I really like.
Yeah, I think.
But overall, it's good. I think it's really good.
I agree with you, Philip. I think some of the youth has been aged out of it. A lot of those younger characteristics, a little more personality that comes through with some of the younger distilled product. I think this one has a little bit more age with it, and like you were saying, it's maybe gone a touch far. It's a little drying to me, a little tannic.
Is it? Okay. See, that's the second one you guys talked about being tannic that I've not picked that up on. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. All right. This is that Grayson whiskey.
Yeah. It's so cloudy.
What the glass after we've drank it, man. Matt, do you notice how cloudy? Philip, do you have a glass poured up of that
Let me pour a little bit in a glass. I've still got it in the sample.
Oh, no.
You've just been sucking it out of the sample bottle.
So who remembers?
Well, no, I had some in a glass, but I drank everything that was in my glass.
Oh, I got you.
Who remembers the cereal waffle crisp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Smell that. Smell this glass.
Oh yeah.
To me, this smells exactly like pipe tobacco.
Oh.
See,
I
agree with
the empty
Matt.
glasses.
It's
Waffle
pipe
crisp
tobacco
and
for
pipe
sure.
tobacco.
Because my dad used to smoke a pipe, and he would smoke like cherry tobacco or whatever.
100% pipe tobacco.
But man, I
me.
can't get over
Captain Black.
I have never seen a glass that has.
There's so many oils and fat. Like,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy,
I mean,
man.
All these other glasses that we got tonight, I don't think I've ever seen a bourbon glass look like that. Because it was funny because I looked at mine and then I saw Matt's across the table and then I saw yours and I'm like, every one of those glasses is like covered in almost a white type of film. So anyway, I mean, I know we're talking about George C. Stagg, but that was just really
this Grayson has kind of been like the underdog of the time.
I would say so, man. Definitely, no doubt about that. But so, what do you
There's
guys?
Something to that Texas heat for sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I think so. So, final thoughts though, guys, on the George T. Stagg. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
it's worthy of what it is. Worthy of the price tag, worthy of a full secondary price tag. And I don't know about that.
Yeah, I would not pay $750 or whatever.
I wouldn't pay above what you paid for this, Mark.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No, I mean, 100%. Worth $150. I'd pay $150, $200 all day long for this. But if I could get the Grayson, this particular blend for $100, and I hate to say that, it's crazy. I love George T. Stagg. Thank you, Mark, for letting us try this. Yeah. But the underdog of tonight, to me, seriously, is that Grayson bourbon.
I would agree. Philip? What about you, man? What do you think about the Stagg?
I really like it, and so I just went back and tasted the Grayson. So when you taste them together, because there's such a distinct difference between the Texas and the Kentucky bourbon,
right?
I would side by side. I would pick the George T. Stagg over the Grayson.
Okay,
but I would never pay more for the George T. Stagg than what it is at retail. I think the Grayson competes with it. I like the George T. Stagg better, but
right.
Yeah, I would say that 150 range I would buy. If somebody was like, "Hey, I got this model and I'll set you for 300," I would say no.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No way.
Not gonna do it. Yeah. No. I think I'm the same way on that one. So, well, guys, we've actually reached the end of session round period number 3. Unless there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap it up.
I think we did a good job covering everything.
I think we did too. So
yeah, I think so.
All right, guys. Final thoughts before we close it out. Philip, anything you want to add or say?
Thank you so much for letting me finally get to taste some George T. Stagg. It was great. Thank you. It's been great being back on here with you guys, and we had some great pours tonight. And everybody, don't sleep on Texas bourbon. I would say that's my biggest takeaway. And I figured it out. It's going to be Old Charter is going to be the BTAC new one.
Oh, dude. Oh, that is Philip. Once again, you get a 5-minute timeout. So in the corner you go. So I'm just kidding. Matt, what about you, man? Anything final thoughts?
Oh, I just had a great time. It's always good to get the crew back together again.
Yeah.
So everybody, check these guys out. Check out Philip at Bourbon Hunting. Is it hunting or hunting?
Bourbon Hunting KY.
Hunting, yeah.
Bourbon Hunting KY on Instagram, and of course Chad at My Daily Bourbons. Thank you both for coming on. Always great to get the crew back.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Chad. Final thoughts, man. Anything?
George T. Stagg, amazing as you would expect. It's very good. Grayson blew me away. Wiseman, it's fine. Thank you, Mark, Matt, for having us. Me and Philip really appreciate it. Philip, I'm sorry once again you couldn't make it here and that we couldn't see your beautiful face.
Yeah, man, you're missing out. We're going to have to get you over here live with us, man, so we can really tear into a few bottles, before or after the show, whichever, and drink some Cougar Bait.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I can put down that Cougar Bait, man.
Oh, yeah. It's good.
Already gone.
Good stuff. Dan Harrison, man, one of the co-owners of Country Boy, we're friends, and he was like, man, I should be on the podcast sometime. I'm like, well, we could probably do that. I mean, we could do a beer themed
Oh,
bourbon.
I'd totally be into that.
Yeah. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that'd be
some barrel aged beers. That'd be good.
we could do something, man. We could figure something out. So we may have to do that in the future. So final thoughts for me. Yeah, the Stagg is great. I love it. But man, the Grayson whiskey. I mean, that really, I don't know, man. It just that's another surprise, kind of a shocker for me, man. So it's good stuff. If you can find it, if you can get it, I would definitely check it out. And no, man, that glass, it's so crazy how cloudy that glass is after the fact. But good stuff. The Wiseman, I would pick up a bottle, $60. I would definitely get that. So, of course, we want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate everything that they do. And of course, this is the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Bespoken Spirits. So we appreciate their sponsorship as well. And with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Whether it's rye, sour mash Tennessee whiskey, or bourbon, Davidson Reserve has something delicious to offer any whiskey lover's palate. Pick up a bottle of one of our award-winning Davidson Reserve whiskeys from your local retailer today. Visit www.davidsonreserve.com for more information. And cheers to drinking local.